In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form 3949A, Information Referral. So this might be one of the forms that you would consider filing with the IRS to report someone or some business that may be doing something inappropriate. Before you start working on this form, you should double check to make sure that this is the correct form for your situation. And for that, you can go to the IRS website, but there are a couple of things on this form that can kind of help you in the right direction. For example, if you think that your identity has been stolen, then instead of filing this form, you would use Form 14039, which is the identity theft affidavit. And so all of these other forms that may be viable alternatives, we'll link to them in the comment section of this video. So before we go to completing the form itself, I wanted to take you through. So it's just a one-page form, but then on the back there are 2 pages of additional guidance. So specific examples of places where you would use a different form. If you believe that your identity was stolen, as I mentioned, IRS Form 14039. If your tax return preparer did something that you believe to be inappropriate, that is called tax return preparer misconduct. You would use IRS Form 14157. If your paid tax preparer filed a return or made changes to your return without your authorization, that is illegal. And instead of using this form to report that person, you would use Form 14157 and then 14157-A. Those are 2 forms that accompany each other. So each time you use 14157-A, you need to accompany it with the 14157. If you received a notice about someone claiming your exemption or your dependent, then you would follow the instructions on the notice, not file this. If there's a tax scheme going around or a promotion or a promoter, you would report that person or business or scheme through IRS Form 14242. And if there's misconduct or wrongdoing by a tax-exempt organization, such as a not-for-profit or a church or something like that, or one of its officers, directors, or someone else authorized to act on behalf of that organization, then you would use Form 13909. So beyond these different purposes, you can see additional guidance about the form. So according to the Paperwork Reduction Act at the bottom of the form, it says that it should take about 15 minutes to complete this form. We'll go through it step by step just so you can kind of see what this looks like. In Section A, this is all about the individual or business that you're reporting. So we'll go through this line 1 as if there's an individual, and then we can kind of walk through line 2 even if we don't complete everything. So we're reporting John Doe, and John Doe's social security number is that. Of course, if you don't know this information, then you don't need to put it in, and there's a decent chance that if you're reporting someone, there's probably a lot of information that you're not going to report. But in this circumstance, we happen to know everything that we need to know about Mr. Doe, so we're going to simply go along and complete this form. We'll report this guy from Hawaii this time around, and you would outline their occupation. We'll just say that they are insurance salesman, and then we'll put their email address if doeenterprises.com. So whatever email address you have on file or in your records for this person, and again, as much information as you can. We'll state that he's single, but if he was married, you would put the name of his spouse there. So if you know any information about a business that is, that this person represents, emails, websites, as much information as you can give to the IRS as possible, that would be appropriate. So let's just say you're reporting this person because you happen to work in his business, and so we'll complete this person's information, and we'll just say that he lives down the street from his home address. And we'll say that he uses his work email and home email are the same email address. And then we'll say that his website is Doe Enterprises. Okay, so basically we've just completed the information field for the person and business that we're reporting. So in section B, we're going to go a little bit further into the alleged violation. So we'll assume that we've got an insider's view into the books. So this is probably how a lot of these information referrals work. Someone's bookkeeper, someone's doing tax reporting or bookkeeping for someone that's doing illegal things. So we'll just say that there is unsubstantiated income and that they're using false or altered documents. And then in section 4, you would fill in the tax years and the dollar amounts of the unreported income that you might be aware of. So let's just say in 2020, these kickback schemes were good to the tune of $50,000. And in 2021, they decided to up their game and go into $100,000, right? So this seems to be pretty urgent. We haven't gotten the books yet on 2022, but it looks like it's pretty hairy there as well. Now you would briefly describe the facts of this allegation. So who is doing what? Where are they doing it? When are they doing it? How did you find out about it? And so write as much documentation as you can to give the IRS enough information to go on. So even though you're filing this report by yourself, there might be someone else that's filed a report like this or filed a different report. So any information that you can give to the IRS is going to be pretty helpful. So we'll just say that Mr. Doe was selling insurance policies not in accordance with insurance company guidelines or state law. So obviously you would want to go into more detail if this was the case. I simply made up something since this is an example, and I already stated that John Doe was an insurance salesman. So it can be did not report off books income for policies written but never submitted. Basically, this guy just took checks for insurance policies but never actually sent the paperwork off to the insurance company. So he's kind of running some scams, and obviously since he's not reporting this as income, this gives the IRS a segue into being able to investigate. And to the extent possible, when even though all taxpayers are required to declare all income regardless of source, obviously when the IRS receives information about illegal income, whether it is or it is not reported to the IRS, then the IRS can bring in law enforcement officers or other federal agencies as required to investigate further. So in 6, you would kind of give a little bit more information if it's available. So if you happen to be the bookkeeper and you have access to books or you have files, then you can say yes, but don't send them to the IRS. The IRS will contact you. And then, do you consider the taxpayer dangerous? Basically, are they a threat to you in your reporting? Yes or no. And then you would put in information about banks or financial institutions that the taxpayer uses. So let's just say they use Bank of America, and Bank of America is at 234 Main Street. Okay, then that gives the IRS permission to go to the bank and request additional information within appropriate guidelines and procedures. And then Section C, you do not have to send information about yourself. However, if you have additional information that you cannot include in this form, then the IRS may want to come back to you to clarify something, to get an additional detail, those books and records that you may have available. So we're going to complete this information field as if we're not threatened for our lives and worried about any retribution from the taxpayer. Obviously, if you've answered yes to the question 6B, then you may want to consider seriously whether or not you need to put information about yourself in this form. So we'll just assume that we're going to put no. We don't think the taxpayer's dangerous. We think he's just running a scheme, and we would like someone to put a stop to it. Best time to call is in the afternoons when John Doe is making his office calls to the next group of victims. And you work at this office. However, you probably don't want to put that information down unless you want an IRS agent contacting you at your office. So we'll just put that okay. So basically took us about 5 minutes to complete this form, and it might take you a little bit longer to get the paperwork together to understand the facts as you see them. But if you've been doing this for some time, you probably have a pretty good narrative that you're ready to tell the IRS, and you've probably got enough information in the form of documentation or files to go deeper as the IRS may need to. And again, if you need any step-by-step guidance, there's obviously different there's guidance on the back of the form as to what each of these what a false exemption is versus a false deduction, unsubstantiated income. All of these different tax violations have a short description, and then you can provide information about yourself. So the guidance in the back of the form can help you. Another thing that can help you, if you like this video but wanted to go step by step through the form itself, you can go to our article on this form, simply go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 3949-A, and you should see our form our article up here. And this article will walk you step by step through this form, and it will go into detail about each of these violations so that you're filling out the form correctly. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter from our website. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, as always, please either put them in the comment section or send me an email. Thank you very much.